What is up? I'm Brie K of TheseAreTheSounds.com, and in this video, I'm going to give you guys the whole story about how I got started in sync licensing and how I started getting placements. But first, this is the intro. If you follow me on Instagram, then you probably know about some of the sync licensing placements that I've been getting recently, and if you don't, let me walk you through the list. I've gotten placements on BET on the show Tyler Perry's Sistas. I've gotten placements on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, Siesta Key on MTV, Jersey Shore Family Vacation, an E-Channel original movie called Mismatch. A couple shows on Netflix, one called Marriage or Mortgage, one called Perfect Match, one called Love Never Lies, and I've also gotten some placements internationally in the UK, Denmark, Ireland, etc. And I am going to tell you guys how exactly this happened. I'm going to get into as many details as possible without being invasive or intrusive on my own personal life or anybody else's personal life, but I did ask for permission if it was okay to mention certain people, and they okayed it. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell the whole story now. Actually, one more thing before I start. The reason why I'm taking it all the way back to 1942 is because when I hear about people's successes, they seem to be like, I was working at the warehouse at Walgreens and then all of a sudden I was a CEO, and I'm like, okay, but how? Who did you meet? How did you meet them? You know, I want to know all the details. So that is why I'm taking it all the way back to 1927. I got to give you the freaking director's cut with behind the scenes bonus features because that is just how I tell stories. So if that is too much for you, put this video on 2x speed. And if it's not, then I hope you enjoy this. So I started actually consciously making music for sync around 2019, but this story actually starts in about 2013. So in 2013, I entered a remix contest with my cousin, Kasairi. And for this remix contest, you had to get votes in order to be like in the top 5. So Kasairi and we had like all of our friends and all of our family and everybody vote. So we stayed in like the top 2 or top 3, something like that, pretty much for the duration of the remix contest. We didn't end up winning, but the winner was actually Obi, or his username is On Beat Music. Obi actually ended up checking out our SoundCloud page, or I don't even know if we had a joint SoundCloud yet. I think it might have just been mine, but he ended up checking out my SoundCloud page and he saw that I made beats and stuff like that, and he ended up connecting with us and we ended up becoming really good friends. And Obi used to ask me to do features for like his own group, for all of his friends and different people that he knew that did music. Sometimes he asked me to do production with him on certain things, and I really owe a lot of my music career to Obi helping me get started. Obi constantly passed my name around anytime that Kasairi and I came out with like a new anything. Obi would promote it, and Obi's following was like much bigger than ours still is. But because of our relationship with Obi, he really connected us to a lot of people and exposed us in all of the ways that he possibly could, and that was such a blessing, and I thank God for him. Obs, if you're watching this, thank you. So fast forward to the following year, and Kasairi and I decide to officially become a duo. Obi pushes the mess out of our stuff. We come out with a new project or a new single every single month for over a year straight. So Obi is advancing in his own career. As you may or may not know, he is a music producer and he is a very talented one. And he gets a label deal and he's working with prominent artists at that label. And like I said, Obi was always asking me to do different features, sometimes production, all sorts of different stuff. So he approached me and he told me that there was an artist at the label that he was with that was looking for a female vocalist for a feature, and he told him about me, and he actually liked my voice. That artist goes by the name Daraj. Now Daraj hit me up, and shout out to Daraj because he really caught me. First of all, shout out to Obi and shout out to Daraj and shout out to everybody that I collaborated with between like 2013 and 2017, because y'all really had to deal with a version of me that had no personality. I literally had no personality. I was very like, let's get to the point, let's get this done, and don't talk to me about anything else outside of that. But Obi and I had become pretty good friends, so Obi got to, know me and Kasairi more as like actual people. And Daraj actually kind of like would ask questions about where I wanted to go in my career and stuff like that. And I was kind of like private at that time. I still am, actually, as I'm up here telling my whole life story. I'm not as private now as I was then. I used to really keep my goals and everything like as close as I possibly could. But Daraj would kind of just like give me like pointers and stuff like that. So Daraj had me do 2 features, and let me look this up because I can't remember what year it was exactly. Obi hit me up to do the features for Daraj in 2017, and the features that I did, they actually ended up coming out in 2018. Sometime during that time, in one of the conversations that I had with Daraj, he let me know that he was going to be pitching his music around to get it placed in reality shows. And he mentioned to me that he was getting into sync licensing and stuff like that. And I was familiar with the term only because a couple years prior, I don't know the exact date, I think it was around 2016, 2017. At the NAMM show, I had went to a panel where they were talking about sync licensing and getting your music into film and TV, and that was my first time ever hearing about it. In that panel, they mentioned a service called Taxi, and I had signed up for Taxi, so I was like submitting my music around and getting a lot of rejection, but I did get accepted into a music library, so I was semi-familiar with the sync licensing world and music libraries and how they work, but not completely. I didn't fully understand the ins and outs of it. So when Daraj brought it up around 2018, I thought that sounded super cool. I was like, I'm super down. I would love to get my music placed in places, and I have no idea how to do that, so this sounds cool. Later on that year in 2018, I ended up meeting Daraj in person, coincidentally, and he ended up asking me questions once again, because he was always asking me about like, what are your career goals? What do you want to do? And that type of stuff. And at that time, I didn't really know. I wasn't really sure. But he ended up telling me, I think that you would do really well in sync licensing. You produce, you write, you sing, you rap, and you can do all of those things by yourself. I think that you would actually do really well in this realm because that's kind of what's needed. It sounded cool to me. I was like, that's cool. But I had no idea how to even go about doing that. But I was too like immature or prideful or a combination of all of these bad traits to actually ask questions about the things that I didn't understand. I felt like I had to figure it out myself, and I didn't want to bother anybody with like asking questions and stuff like that. And I still kind of am like that, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm trying to get better. But I kept trying to do my research. So rewind back to 2017. I'm pretty sure this was in 2017 when I had got accepted into a music library. There was a conference, a music conference in LA, and Kasairi took me to the music conference because I wanted to meet with the owner of this music library just to put a face to a name and to ask some questions and things like that. I was trying to break out of my shell. And so we went and we met him, and he gave us a lot of helpful information. He answered a lot of my questions regarding sync licensing because I was like, I don't understand how it works. Can you put your music out and then it can still go in a library? And he was like, yes, if they are non-exclusive agreements. They may have to make a copy of it for their own library, but yes, you can put out music and then also submit it for sync licensing. It really depends on what the music supervisors are calling for. And so he was just like making it make sense to me. And that was, again, in 2017. I still didn't fully understand, but I was getting all of these little pieces of information from the NAMM show, from Daraj, and from this owner of this music library. So fast forward to the end of 2018, I meet Daraj, we have this conversation, he tells me sync licensing would be really good for me, and I say okay, and I don't ask any questions. So 2019 comes around, and I actually make my beat store, which is thesearethesounds.com. I start this YouTube channel, and I am really going all in on selling beats and selling beat licenses and all that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of still dipping my toe in the sync licensing world, and I'm still an artist, and I still have a day job, and all of the things. And I'm super motivated and disciplined, and I'm working my face off. But I'm still not 100% familiar with the sync licensing world. I haven't landed any placements yet. And I really wanted to get into it, and I really wanted to learn it, but I just didn't fully know how. But here's the thing. When people see you really working hard towards something, it really does draw them to you because, one, they see what you're able to do out of your own initiative, And two, they can actually see your work. So like you're kind of building your own portfolio or resume online. It can really be beneficial to you in the long run, and it really was to me. So sometime during 2019, Daraj hits me up and he tells me that he has this friend who has a music library, and he's working on a project that I think you would be really good for. Is it cool if I connect you guys? And I was like, sure. I don't want to be extra, but this was like one of those like journey altering connections. So Daraj connects me with the music library owner named Jesse Chambers, and the name of the music library is Music Makers. From what I remember from that first conversation with Jesse was him telling me that he was working on a project with different producers and artists, and he asked how many tracks that I think I could do. And I think I told him 1 or 2 probably, because I was working longer hours at that time. And I was a little bit jaded, I think, from like all of the rejection of trying out sync licensing and just rejection in general in having a music career. Like there's constant rejection. People don't always really talk about it that much, but like you're constantly being told no or you're being told, oh yeah, we're going to do something, and then you don't. So at that time, I kind of was a little bit jaded of just, you know, empty promises, that sort of thing. But something about this felt right, and I was in constant prayer. And I do believe that the Lord was telling me, go ahead and do this. So I was like, yeah, sure, I can do a song. So Jesse ends up sending over some beats, and I write to one, and it ends up on the project with all of these other amazing artists. That's in 2019. Fast forward to 2020, and once again, Jesse hits me up, asks me if I can write for another Music Makers project similar to the previous one. And I'm like, absolutely, yes. I was still working longer hours at that time at my regular job. I was still really going hard with These Are the Sounds. And so I think when he hit me up, I'm pretty sure I probably was like, oh yeah, I can probably do like 1 or 2 tracks again. So I ended up writing another song, which went on to another Music Makers project. I think that same year, 2020, Jesse hit me up once again to help with another project. And this project was not like, I don't even know how to explain it. That project didn't have any lyrics. It was just me working with a producer, and the producer was making the tracks, and then I was like humming or doing like melodic lines over them without actually saying anything. And it was so much fun. Like I loved it. And we've gotten international placements with that project, which is so cool. So the thing that I loved about working with Jesse and Music Makers, and Jesse has no idea, but I'm sure you're watching this video right now, so thank you so much, Jesse, because you helped me break out of having that like jaded mentality of like, I have to do everything myself, because a lot of people have a lot of promises, or, you know, things just don't work out a lot of the time with other people in music. I think I didn't understand at the time that that's just part of the game. Like sometimes things don't work out, and you can't really count on, I don't want to say on people to keep their word, because it's not always their fault. Like sometimes things happen where they thought that a certain relationship was gonna, you know, turn into something, and it didn't, and people promising stuff and you being like, oh, this might happen, and it doesn't. It's just part of having a music career, honestly. I think that Jesse and Music Makers really like helped me break out of that jaded mentality. Jesse has been such a person of integrity. Like he says a thing and he does a thing, and maybe there is some lag time, I don't know. I don't really pay attention to it because, I mean, I'm always doing 27 million different things anyway, but there's not really a whole lot of lag time. It's literally like, there's this project that I want to do. This is how we're going to go about it. This is the system that we're going to use. I love organization and I love direction, so that's cool. And I have to say the same thing about Daraj, because Daraj also really worked the same way. And I have to thank Daraj for connecting me to Jesse, because y'all two have been amazing to work with, like amazing. But yeah, Jesse would hit me up, be like, can you be a part of this project? How many tracks can you do? These are the tracks recorded. We mixed it. We mastered it. This is how it's going to sound. The project's coming out next week or whenever. It's always really quick, and I like that. I like seeing results. So thank you, Jesse, for showing results. I thank you. Just making these different connections and trying to like maintain professional relationships with good people, and praying for like the right doors to open and for the right people to connect with you. Like I just can't, I'm so grateful. I don't even know what to say. So Jesse hits me up again and asks if I can do a project, a pop Latin type project, and I say yes. And my Spanish is not all that. I feel very insecure about my Spanish because it is not good, but I said yes anyway, and I figured it out. So we end up doing this project. I wrote 2 songs in Spanish, one that was like half Spanish. That was in 2021, and the cool thing about this project is that it has been getting placements left and right this year. Fast forward to 2022, Jessie approaches me, asks me to do another project with them, and I am down. Fast forward to 2023, which is this year, Jessie asks me to participate in another project with them, and again, I am down. And I cannot thank Jessie enough for this opportunity, because these last couple projects have been getting placements, like I said, left and right. And I know that it's part of his own hard work and the connections that he's made in this industry. And I can't thank him enough for sharing that with me. And again, going back to Daraj, like, I can't thank him enough for sharing this connection with Jessie with me. And then going back to Obi, like, I can't thank him enough for sharing all of his connections and all of his exposure with me. But I also have to go back to my cousin, Kasairi, my twin, because her prayer for us, as long as we've been doing music, as long as I don't want to say as long as I've known her, because I've known her since the womb, but as long as we've been doing music, her prayer has always been, Lord, connect us to all the right people and disconnect us from all of the wrong ones. And Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And I love the Lord, and I am called according to his purpose. And I can't thank him enough for connecting me with all of these right people, and just for making everything work together, even when I don't see it. Like, there are probably things that he's working out now that I have no idea about. And sometimes I do get like impatient because I feel like things are not moving fast enough in my music career and things like that. But it's all in his timing, and I trust him, and I cannot thank him enough. And I have to say that in this video. I know this is not a Christian channel, so I'm not going to get my preaching off, but I have to say that. I also forgot to mention that the placements that I got on BET were part of a project that I did with Daraj. And again, I just thank him for sharing his connections with me, for sharing his opportunities with me. I can't thank y'all enough. If you guys are watching this video, I just cannot thank you guys enough. I think that is the whole story for now. There's obviously more to it, because I have gotten placements outside of these connections that I mentioned, but all of the placements, I think pretty much all of the placements that I have gotten were a result of people seeing what I did with Obi, Daraj, and Jessie. Again, I just cannot thank you guys enough. And for those of you that want to break into sync licensing, I would recommend following Daraj. I'll put his @ on the screen and probably in the description. Daraj is like the sync king. So if you want to learn more about sync licensing and all of that kind of stuff, definitely follow him. The moral of the story is keep your prayer game strong. Don't let rejection completely push you out of having a music career, because you definitely can still have one and be successful today, especially today, as long as you have some talent and some work ethic and you build some good connections. And I think that is another moral of the story, is nurture your connections. Be as professional as you can be as open and honest and transparent with your connections as you can be. And what I mean by that is, if you can't do something in a certain time, don't make all these promises that you can and then not be able to come through, and then you just don't say anything. Like, that type of stuff, like, try to be on top of that type of stuff. Try not to be like negligent with your work. Try to stay organized. And that's pretty much all I have to say today. If you guys have any questions, or you guys want me to get into the actual specifics of anything, like, I don't know, anything regarding music, whether you want like production tips, whether you want songwriting tips, feel free to ask those kinds of questions, and I will do my best to give you some answers. And I know that some of you have asked questions in the past, and I would like to go back and also make videos for the questions that you guys have asked. But if there's anything that I missed, or anything that you think I should definitely make a video about, please leave it in the comments below. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I know this wasn't like technical or like anything like that. It was just me telling my story about my sync licensing journey thus far and how it happened. And I hope that it made sense. I know that I was kind of all over the place. I kind of always am when I tell a story, but you got your behind the scenes bonus features, okay? All right, I think that is everything. If you are not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and click subscribe, and I will not leave you hanging as long as I have. I know I came back, I look like a different person with dark hair and bangs and stuff, but it's still me. And if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And once again, if you have any questions on anything, or I don't know, anything that you want to leave a comment about, go ahead and leave me a comment. I think that is officially everything. Okay, peace out.